Welcome back. On Monday, the South African Statistician-General, Dr. Pali Lehohla, released a report titled The Social Profile of Youth 2009 to 2014. This is the first in a series on reports on vulnerable groups. Mr. Lehohla said the situation needs to be addressed urgently or the country faces a bleak future. Joining us from our Seapoint studio is Deputy Minister Buti Manamela from the Presidency, responsible for planning, monitoring and evaluation as well as youth development and administration of the Presidency. Quite a long one there, Buti. Good morning to you and welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Pali side. Also good morning to viewers.
Thank you very much indeed for your time. Now, this report, I believe it's as worrying as it is to the government as much as it is to the whole South Africa.
Of course it is, and I think just to firstly indicate that the Statistician-General has handed over to me parts of the reports over time. Firstly, secondly, that the report has informed much of government policy over a long period of time. If you recall, what we have in place is the National Youth Policy 2020, which was primarily informed by information and data gathered from the Statistics-SA. And what is this report telling us? Firstly, it is telling us that unemployment amongst young people, although it is on the decline, it is of a worrying concern. Secondly, that poverty levels amongst young people are on the increase. And thirdly, that less and less young people are participating in entrepreneurial activities, and that these are the things that we really need to intervene. Now, what is it that needs to be done? Firstly, we think that the report is quite instructive in terms of us upscaling interventions as it relates to education. We have to realize value for money in terms of both basic and higher education. We have to ensure that there are greater success rates from our universities of technology and FET colleges, because the chances of young people being employed when they have a better education are much higher. Secondly, it means that we'll also have to upscale in terms of supporting young people in terms of their entrepreneurial activities. We've already announced measures yesterday in terms of what we're going to do with the NYDA, for instance, as a government agency. We are also going to be mobilizing other government agencies and departments to ensure that we support youth entrepreneurs. As you know, the President has set up the Ministry and Department of Small Business Development, which also will and has been playing a role in terms of supporting youth business. But thirdly, and I think very importantly, is to continue with interventions around poverty alleviation. Some of those are, short, medium, but I think we'll have to really concentrate on long-term, poverty interventions. One of the things which, I am thinking about, which I'm going to be engaging with constituencies of young people, is where do we want to see a young person who is 14 years today in 20 years' time? Because that's what the report says we need to do. But not only that, what interventions do we need to make in terms of young people or children between the ages of 0 to 14? Because that's where we need to intervene in terms of behavior, in terms of resource intervention, in terms of government programs, and also in terms of, ensuring that, instruments such as education are improved at least at that level.
Now, on the issue of education, as much as we do know that lack of education has been cited as one contributing factor in this regard, but one other issue here is the unemployability of the graduates here in the country because they lack, the right skills. What can you say has changed in terms of the quality of our education?
Look, I mean, we have to say to young people out there, yes, it is nice to have a university degree, but I think we also need to think about, other alternative forms of education. The National Youth Policy is 2020 is quite instructive in that regard. That we have to and have been improving the quality of public FET institutions. So, we have set certain targets around artisans, around apprentices, and we think that that's the direction within which young people need to be studying. The government expenditure, for instance, is more geared towards infrastructure development. We, are building roads, we're building houses, we're building dams, we're building power stations. Now, we cannot do that if we're training more doctors, if we're training, more lawyers or more clergies. We can only do that if we're training artisans, engineers, people in electronics and all of that. And that's where we think young people really need to go to. The face of public further education and training is changing. But secondly, we should also not only see gloom and doom. The access and quality of both further education and higher education have extremely changed. Never have we imagined in 1994 that 22 years later we would have close to 1 million young Black, Indian and colored South Africans participating in universities, and even more in proportional terms are participating in FET colleges. Today, fewer young Black, Indian and colored children are going to school precisely because of the interventions of government. And what we're saying is that that needs to improve, and the quality of that education needs to improve. Yes, there are challenges, but we think, and which is what I was saying to the Statistician-General yesterday, that yes, your report is revealing some of the acne that is representative of our system, but we think we have to appreciate the fact that progress has been done.
But going back to the issue of tertiary education in Buti Manamela, we see that tertiary education and other university degrees has actually dropped to 4% in 2014, slightly down from 5% back in 2009.
Look, that's a cause for concern, and that's why, government has been saying, yes, fees must fall, but success must also rise. We need to see more and more graduates coming out of universities. Government and society has the responsibility to pay for university degrees. We've seen that on the increase. National Student Financial Aid scheme has increased from a mere 400 million about 20 years ago to today close to 16-17 billion rands. So and more university entrants. But we think that in as much as students are enjoying the privilege of studying at university, they also have the responsibility to ensure that they pass, so that we're able to spend those resources on those who are needy.
They do go to universities, but at the same time, it is also difficult for them to get jobs, because the very same report says that it remains twice as difficult for a Black, African and colored graduate to secure a job than their colleagues graduating from the same university. But I believe that we'll have more time on that next time in Buti Manamela. That's Buti Manamela. He is the Deputy Minister in the Presidency responsible for planning, monitoring and evaluation, youth development as well as administration in the Presidency. Well, we're taking